Hi Ceramics 2s, today we're going to talk about the Pinch Pot Humans project. Some reminders about the clay and how we use it. Clay is made up of various natural and chemical materials that are safe to use when working with our hands. It has moisture in it that makes it malleable. Clay explodes in the kiln for three reasons. It's too wet, there's still too much moisture in the clay, it's not totally dry. It's too thick. If clay is thicker than a 1/4 inch, it can hold in moisture but also trap air. And then the last reason, if it has trapped air. So air can be trapped in clay when it's folded or squished together and then reformed. When air is heated up in the kiln, it expands, and if it has nowhere to go, then it explodes through the clay. It is ideal to prepare the clay by wedging it before creating artwork out of it. Specifics about our clay and how we're going to be cleaning our materials. As you guys know, we use earthenware, which is a low fire clay. This clay is not functional to eat or drink out of because it has not been completely vitrified, which means that the clay still is a little bit porous and the glaze is still a little bit porous, and so it actually will absorb food and water over time, or food and drinks over time. Everything we do in here cannot be cleaned with chemicals. So you're going to be cleaning your tools and your board using the colored spray bottles that are underneath your tables in the cleaning bin. It has 70% alcohol in it, and that is safe to use on our tools. We never want to put any more chemicals on our tools because then it can get into our clay. And then I'm still firing that clay in a kiln, and when you heat up chemicals that are not supposed to be in a kiln to a high temperature, bad things can happen. So we're not gonna do that. When you are done with the day, you will do that. You'll be cleaning your tools with the alcohol, you'll be spraying them and then wiping them dry with a paper towel and then placing them back in your tools bag. Newspaper used during class will be thrown out at the end of class. Plastic bags are thrown out after the project is completed. And after everything is put back on your shelves and your tools are put back in your bin, then you'll go ahead and wipe down your tables with a chemical spray in the cleaning bin that's under your table. At your own time, if you'd like to watch the reminder of how to wedge clay, it's the same as what you guys learned in Ceramics 1, but I have this here for you if you want to look back in the PowerPoint and check out the video. You can watch Roxanne reminding you all how to wedge. So we're not going to be using wedging boards. There's not enough wedging boards for 2 classes of Ceramics 2s, and they can't be cleaned or shared properly. So we will be doing a modified wedging, especially because we're not using reclaim this semester, since the reclaim bucket would be of all of us from 2 different classes sharing 1 bucket, and that's just not safe for COVID standards. So what you will be doing is you're going to receive about 3 pounds of clay, and then from there you're just going to carefully use it and make sure that you're not making big air pockets, you're not squishing it all together and then forming it back to a ball. You're being responsible and thoughtful as Ceramics 2s should be. The clay you'll be receiving is box clay, and it is new clay, so it shouldn't have a bunch of air pockets in it. It should be homogenized. So if you have any issues or if you see anything, then we can use some newspaper and kind of gently wedge it on the table. But for the most part, you guys will just be using the 3 pounds that I give you. So our first project involves pinch pots, and pinch pots are a really easy, quick way to create a vessel out of clay. What's a vessel? A vessel is anything that you can hold. So our bodies are a vessel because they hold the innards of our own bodies. A vase is a vessel, a mug is a vessel. Anything that holds something is considered a vessel. And there's no right or wrong shape to a pinch pot. That's the beautiful thing about a pinch pot, is everyone will create their own shape of a pinch pot. As long as it holds its shape, you're good. So you want to make sure that you don't pinch the pot too thin, so that it starts to kind of slump or crack and break on you. But you also want to make sure it's not too thick, because you're going to be adding more pieces to it, and we want to make sure to stay around that 1/4 inch thickness. That's desirable to ensure that we don't have anything explode in the kiln. So a refresher on some tools you'll be using that you'll find in your clay kits. You have a sgraffito tool. This guy right here, sgraffito tool. You have a loop tool. A wire cutter. I'm not sure if you're going to need this. I put it in your bags, but maybe keep it in the plastic bag for now, like in its packaging. And if you don't use it, then great. If you do need to use it, that's fine too, but there's no need to open it before having to use it. We have our little yellow sponge, our fettling knife, our wooden modeling tools, and our toothed rib. These are the tools that you are allowed to use. That's it. There's no banding wheels, there's no clay shapers. What you find in your bag is for you to use. If you really want to go out and buy your own tools, or if you have tools at home that you want to bring in and keep here in your clay kit or in your clay bag, that's totally fine. I'm cool with that. I love the enthusiasm, but for the most part, what the studio is providing is what's on this screen. What you need to bring to class. A plastic, not glass, lidded container. Each of you need your own slip, so you cannot share a slip container. Please bring an empty, cleaned container to class with you at the next week so that you can begin your project. And here are some examples. Same as Ceramics 1, just making sure that you have your own container and making sure it's clean before coming to class. Please don't bring like a dirty sour cream container. That's disgusting. And same with the peanut butter jar, make sure it's fully cleaned. Adding details to a pinch pot. So after you create your pinch pot, you're going to start adding human-like features to your pinch pot. And that can include teeth, ears, eyes, nose, clothing, a tongue, arms, hair, and much more. On this, you'll see like wrinkles or like creases of the face. I want you guys to be as creative as possible and really think about facial expressions when you create this pinch pot to give it a little bit more life. We are looking for realistic human features, so nothing should be drawn on or like just stuck on. You need to start thinking about how our faces are more three-dimensional and how we have these high points and low points and wrinkles and crevices. Think about adding those to your pinch pot to give it a little bit more realistic life. Expectations of Ceramics 2s and 3 students is high quality work. Over on the left, that's an absolutely not acceptable face for a Ceramics 2. I understand it's starting to look like Groot. I don't care. It's not human-like enough. It's not three-dimensional enough. It doesn't have enough details. There's so many things that this pinch pot does not have, and it's lacking too much for the expectations of Ceramics 2 or 3. The middle one of the 4 mugs, the face mugs, they're okay. I know some of you are going to be drawn to this because it's more cartoony. They're still a little two-dimensional, just like a cartoon is. There's not a whole lot, like I understand that the facial features are added on, they're not just drawn on, but they're still pretty close to the surface, would be a bas relief. I'm looking for more high relief human faces. And then also thinking about like these are missing like texture or other details besides just the basics of eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows. All right. So the one on the right would be considered an excellent example of a human face on a pinch pot. It's three-dimensional. It has realistic features. It has an expression. The feet are added, which is kind of cool. If you guys wanted to add feet, that's totally an option. But I wanted to make sure you guys see the difference between what is not acceptable for Ceramics 2s and 3s and what we're looking for and what we're trying to aspire to create. So this is a video I made for our Ceramics 1s. It's a pinch pot monster. If you need a refresher on how to make a pinch pot or how to attach pieces to your pinch pot or how to wrap up your project, then please make sure to go back to this slideshow and watch the video that I'll be including in your Google Classroom. But you guys should know the basics of making a pinch pot, how to attach pieces, and how to wrap up your project. If you need a refresher, this video is here, or you can ask a neighbor to help you out. All right, timeline. So for week 1, which is today, it's the introduction, distribution of supplies, and then finding your shelf. Your homework coming up so that you are prepared for next week is you're going to bring a lidded plastic container to class, and it's going to be for your slip. So without this container, you can't really do anything besides making a pinch pot. So you need to make sure to come prepared. You cannot share with someone else, so make sure to come prepared to class. Week 2 is going to be to make your pinch pot and begin adding details, and then week 3 is making sure that your project is finished by the end of class. You're going to take pictures and submit them to Google Classroom. There'll be an assignment there that'll say like an in progress pinch pot human face project. I want to make sure that I'm giving you all credit for in progress work as well, which would include before bisque firing and before glazing. So that's why I'll be having you take some pictures. And it's also really good practice to learn how to take pictures of a three-dimensional object. So we'll kind of talk more about that. Notice the timeline says weeks, but actually it's more like days. So you have 2 days to make a pinch pot human face. I know that seems really short, but a pinch pot itself should take no more than like 15 minutes, especially because you don't have to wedge. And then you're hustling because, to be honest, as you guys know, clay dries out, and when the clay dries out, it tells us it's done. And so we want to make sure to finish our projects before that happens. And if we prolong this project longer than 2 weeks, it's going to be too hard and it's going to dry out and you won't be able to work on it anymore. So when you're in class working on these projects, you're going to need to be really focused and working on your projects because there's no time to stay after school. There's no time to come in during a study hall. The only time you have to work on these are when you're in class. So make sure to come to class and make sure to use all your class time really wisely. All right, so that's it for our intro. You guys will begin sketching your ideas down today. That way you are completely prepared and just ready to start working when you come in next week. Thank you.